Okay, this is probably a recording that maybe I shouldn't do, but I think it needs to be done. I'm pretty sure I'm going to get a lot of dislikes for this, but I really don't know where a lot of TIs are getting their information from. I really don't. Um, they seem to think they're gonna figure this out by looking out their window, listening to other TIs, you know, that somehow they're going to figure it all out in their head. You're not going to figure this out in your head. This whole program's designed to bugger you up, to make you so paranoid and so screwed up that you can't function in society properly. And so the rest of society will look at you as if you're nuts and basically do the dirty work for these people. Meaning they'll stigmatise you, they'll ridicule you, and if you're unlucky, they'll lock you up under the Mental Health Act. This is what this program's designed to do. Right? So you need to keep yourself grounded in reality. You need to check verifiable sources. You need to check things out. And just because some other TI says that, that's what they do, it must be true. That's nonsense. I wouldn't trust any other TIs, what they say. That sounds daft. I don't even trust my own self. I check things out because I know my brain's been compromised. Like every other TI, every real TI out there has been compromised. And all the fake TIs who are, either got mental health issues or the shells or anything, they're putting out crap information. Yeah? So you need reliable, solid, verifiable information to start with. And you're not going to get that by looking out the window, listening to the walls, and by listening to other TIs. All that's going to do is reinforce all the bullshit, all the misinformation, all the disinformation. It's going to get you running around in circles, believing anybody and everybody's out to get you. And it's nonsense. Now, do I think I'm some smart ass? I've just sat here, I've went, oh my god, I figured it all out. I know who's doing it. I know how they're doing it. I'm here to tell everybody else how it's done. No, I don't. I've been a target for over 15 years. Now, a lot of times I've learnt the hard way. I've done all the stupid things. Believed it was my neighbours. Actually confronted my neighbours and then found out that they had nothing to do with it. Then I believe it was people in my community was out to doing this to me. Confronted them again, realised again that all backfired. I realised, wait a minute, after a while you get used to this and you think, I'm being duped here. The people actually doing this don't really have boots on the ground directly. Indirectly they do, through mental health, through the police, social services, and people in the community anyway. They've just got to make you act odd or act strange or do certain things or say certain things. So you get a negative stereotype, you get negative consequences, and they screw you up. Yeah? That's how this works. Yeah? There is one big gang out to get you, and it's called society. And the thing is, what they do is get you to violate the social norms. And this is quite hard for people to get, because most victims feel like they're the ones being violated, which you are. But people see you. They don't see the people doing this or the technology that's beaming it onto you. They see you and your reaction and what you claim's happening. And when you say that to people, normal everyday people or people in authority, they look at you as if there's something wrong with you, instead of understanding the situation. And now people get caught in this trap and trying to well, if I could just explain it, let them see. No, that's the problem. Because when you're doing that, you're just digging a big hole for yourself. Yeah? You really need to, we all fall for it a couple of times. I did, everybody does. And you sit down and you go, wait a minute, if I act like that, respond like that, or try and make these people believe, I'm just going to get locked up in the Mental Health Act. They're just going to distance themselves from me. They're all going to think I'm loony. So I learned to realise that I needed the objective evidence. I needed the experts basically on my side before I can prove this. Yeah? Because if you're just sat there and you're trying to tell people this exists, nobody's going to believe you, okay? Now, as an example, I'll give you an idea how I realised that the people in the community weren't actually, perps or gang stalkers. They used to do, when I was going back, this is going back to about 2006, maybe a bit earlier than that. They used to do the old cars with the flickery headlights, basically at night time. I do believe that was because they were changing over to the LED lights, and there were just a lot of cars put the wrong bulbs in or something like that. It used to flicker quite badly. But at the time, I was led to believe that the people with these headlights, they were the perps, stalkers and all that, chasing me around town. Plus I was getting the V2K as well, that were trying to home in on where I was and all this, trying to figure out what I was and chase me around. And it did screw me up. It basically ended up in a mental place, actually, because they were just screwed my head and basically bugging me up. But I eventually found out that all these cars that seemingly were chasing me around and all that, and even though I were in isolated places, now I used to work in a backstreet bar, so I used to hang around and mingle with people that were pretty dodgy, to say the least. Some of them were like, petty criminals, some of them were like a bit more like, dodgy kind of organised crime kind of people, in like a backstreet bar, you know what I mean? Some of them were ex-military, a lot of ex-military in there. A lot of them worked for security firms, like doormans and bouncers and that kind of type thing. So I mixed with quite a rough crowd, you know what I mean? So when this all started, I was expecting people, if they cornered me or something caught up with me, a couple of big blokes would jump out of a car and they would either beat me up or whatever, throw me in the back of the van or something like this, you know what I mean? That never happened. In fact, these cars just passed you the same as like every other car. And I realised I was getting screwed. That and another time, I went away for a weekend, away from here to stay at a mate's house. And they were screwing me up, making out all these people had travelled through, and then people in the local area, they were getting pissed off with me. Most of this was through the V2K. And eventually I had to run out the house because they were making out they were going to fry my brains, because they were playing a sound like in my head, sounding like frying sausages, and they're going to turn it up and they're going to fry everybody's brain in the house, and it just screwed me up. So I just ran out of the middle of the house, middle of the night, ran around the streets, ended up in a big park, and they were making it all the local people. They were going to, be a vigilante mob and all this, and I was stupid because I didn't know how to use the technology, and they were going to hang me up and all this. I ended up sleeping in this park all night. Nobody turned up. Some old woman walking a dog about, 6:30 in the morning, just looked at me, what was this deranged man walking around the park for at this time in the morning, you know what I mean? So it's all to screw you up, to make you believe one thing's happening in your head, why you're running out in the world, so other people look at you and think you're just a screwball. It's an absolute trick. It's a screwball job. They're messing with your beliefs, they're messing with your perception, and they're getting you to run around all screwed up, so people, especially like your family, friends, people in the community, look as if you've a nut job. They're screwing with us. The next thing is people don't understand the technology. Yeah? They're using their own body and their own mind to actually figure it out by the sensation and the experience they have. Yeah? Which is understandable, but when they say do weapons, well, that's downplaying the technology. It's not some dumb weapon, it's not some dumb projectile, it's not some laser beam or some high powered microwave beam. Now we know that because you can actually buy EMF detectors. You can use them in your house and stuff like that. So the level, they're not using a lot of energy in here, and this is backed up by the documentation. They don't need a lot of power to drive this stuff. It's all about the modulation and frequency. Plus as well, if they're using high power energy, it would damage other stuff in your building. It would damage your clothes, it would burn you. It would, singe stuff like wallpaper, everything else. There would be other indicators if they were using high energy. They're not using high energy. Yeah, this is quite sophisticated stuff. It's actually hitting you, and actually it's manipulating your nervous system and your brain, basically, which is part of your nervous system, and your body's tuned and your senses are tuned to give you this sort of like one-to-one relationship with the real world around you. Yeah, so when you touch something solid, you get that kind of feedback from it, or you touch something hot, cold. Yeah, but that's, it's calibrated for that. But basically they're just electrical signals, and these electrical signals are always the same. When you look at action potentials, they're always like in the millivolts, 70 millivolts plus or minus from 70 to 50, and like a fly can be jumping up and down your skin, or an elephant. The same amount of electricity will go to your brain, but it'll just be the frequency of it and the patterns of it going. It will tell you if it's really hard, or or really sore or soft. Yeah. So this is what a lot of people are getting wrong. They're using sensations running around the body. They then, because the body's tuned to to try and tell them about the external world, they're getting all this induced signals into their body, and they're trying to then make sense of it in the world. Yeah, try and figure where it's coming in. Plus, at the same time, you're always getting the actual stimuli from the real world anyway. So you're getting the real life stimuli from all the activity happening around you. You're getting this induced sensation on top of that. Your brain tries to merge it all together to make some coherent thingamajig image and sense of the world outside there. So you end up believing that your neighbours are firing these high pulse weapons and stuff like this, and people in cars are driving up and blasting you with that. Yeah, because you're trying to make a coherent image of it all. Whereas basically, you're getting the real stimuli from the real world, and also as well, a lot of the psychological impact can make you more sensitive to that. So everyday stressors that you would normally dismiss, they're like multiplied, really annoying, like things like aeroplanes going by, somebody rattling keys, somebody whistling, somebody doing DIY. They're really annoying. But they're not making any more noise. It's your sensitivity that's changed because you're in a heightened state of awareness. Yeah? So you're having that to deal with. You're having the induced sensations that's just attacking your body. And it's all come together into this weird, mad world that a lot of TIs are going out there and trying to make sense of it all. But you have to see it as you're getting the normal stimuli from the real world, though your sensitivity and tolerance to that's changed because of the psychological impact, being in flight and fight, heightened state of awareness. Yeah, you get the next thing is you're getting all these induced sensations to your body, which is exactly the same as if you were actually a real stimulation was coming to you, because it's the same electrical impulses going through your system, and then your brain's trying to merge them all together. So you have to sort of separate them out and try and keep yourself balanced. Otherwise, you're going to believe all kinds of crap. You're going to go running around. You're going to start blaming people, blaming objects. Your total worldview is going to be distorted. Okay, the next thing to understand is your kind of like perception. How do you actually perceive the external world? It's so important, and how you respond to it. Remember, your brain is basically developed to function in the world. For your vision and your hearing and your touch and all that and your smell, to give you kind of like warnings about dangers, to give you meaning, so you can function, you can find food, you can defend yourself. Yeah. Also as well, your kind of flight or fight situation, your body's designed to either, fight some predator that jumps out of a bush, to either fight them or run away from them, or sometimes just play dead, basically, to freeze, basically. You know what I mean? So your body's very much tuned to do that, to deal with the kind of like local surroundings, just a local area, for where your senses can actually sense, or hear, or touch, or you know what I mean. Your distance, you can in your local area, basically. yeah? To deal with, like, if you're walking around and you stand on something. Is it a snake? Is it a stick? Your brain's already decided that it's a snake. It's only when you look down and move your foot that you realise it's a stick. Yeah? So you have all this kind of thing built into your brain and body, and how humans developed on this earth, basically, to survive, basically, survival instincts, right? So when you get whacked with this kind of technology, it can't handle it. It's not used to it. It tries to deal with it like it deals with the other type of threat, a conventional threat, like somebody trying to attack you, or some predator. That's why the sense of being watched is such a kind of gives off such a warning to human beings, because that's what predators do. Predators sit there and they watch the prey, don't they? Or they watch a lot of prey and find out which ones are limping, which ones not paying attention, then they go and attack them. Yeah, so actually feeling that you're being watched could alert you to danger of a predator lurking about. Yeah. So when we get whacked with this technology, it just totally screws us, because we're still trying to deal with it like a conventional threat. Yeah. You can't put your hands up in the air, can you, and try and fight it. You can't fight it with your fists. You can't run away from this. You can't play dead. Yeah. So we're pretty knackered with this. But unfortunately, if you don't realise that, then you're running around your own neighbourhood, in flight or fight mode, trying to find the enemy, fight. Where's that physical threat in your physical area that's doing all this damage to you? Because that's how your brain's hardwired to deal with. Yeah? Your brain's not developed to deal with stuff bouncing off of satellites or coming off of mobile phone masts and attacking you like this. Yeah? And this is also as well, a lot of the things that you feel like a predator's attacking you, which it is, but it's not a conventional predator. Yeah? It's not a physical predator in your local area. Yeah? It's something acting on you at a distance in the EM spectrum waves, which is basically not visible to us normally. So that we have a real hard time dealing with it. And if you try and run around and deal with it like a conventional threat, you're gonna end up accusing wrong people. You're gonna have a lot of false positives. You're gonna start blaming things that have nothing to do with it all. Okay?